Hey there, I'm Incomp. This week's skin is IJN Yamashiro, created by Matu2. This is a weeb skin, but it has a non-weeb version. Still, I will be focusing this review on the weeb version, but I will point out differences between the two. IJN stands for Imperial Japanese Navy, and the Yamashiro was a Japanese battleship constructed in 1915. She was actually used pretty passively. She took no part in World War I and only played an auxiliary role, which is pretty much a bench warmer, in World War II. In 1944, however, she was put on the front lines at the Battle of Surigao Strait. She was sunk by American torpedoes. But the skin isn't about the battleship, it's about a character in Azur Lane, Yamashiro, who was named after it. Anyway, let's get started. No idea how those are staying in there. Apart from that, the screen actually gives a really good first impression. All elements are clear and in a high resolution. The color scheme of the screen is red and dark gray with some pale goldish thrown in. Yes, there is pink on the left side of the top section's outline. When this skin was submitted to our queue, the submitter added a note saying that the top of the top bar couldn't be skinned with an all red outline because of mode small's add of blend mode, which is probably the reason for the pink being there. So I won't con the skin for that. Even Yamashiro herself is cropped in well, though I'd be willing to bet that's mostly because Azur Lane provides transparent PNGs of all its character art. Still, her positioning is great. She's in a spot where she doesn't block any important information. The bottom section looks great. It's very minimalistic, but not bad by any means. I also like the back button animation. The bottom buttons are well done. There are labels on them, but they only light up when you hover over them. The song buttons have a design similar to the top and bottom sections, and they leave no room for complaint. The mod icons are splendid. They all have relevant icons, consistent color coding, and easy to read abbreviations. They even include the score multipliers. The non-weeb version removes Yamashiro from the screen, to no one's surprise. The ranking screen is something else, in a good way. This screen does something very unique that I haven't seen elsewhere before. It uses the same background as the top part, where the song info is located, to make the screen more whole, so to speak. Scrolling kind of breaks the seamlessness, but it's an incredible effect nonetheless. That set my standards high, but the rest of the ranking screen does not fall short of them. The panel looks great, is well organized, and I like how the gold flower pattern flows through each box. The back button looks nice here too. A lot of skinners trip up on making their back buttons look good on both the song selection and ranking screens, and for good reason. It's really goddamn tricky. So I gotta give credit where credit's due. The skinner did a great job here. The red gradient on the left side is a good touch. The replay button, retry button, and grades are all up to par as well. Yamashiro doesn't look bad here either, and her chest is much more contained here than in the previous screen. Let's hope it stays that way. The non-weeb version removes Yamashiro from the screen. The gameplay is pretty much exactly what you would expect given the quality of the previous two screens. The cursor, with its bright blue color, never gets lost. The hit circles have a clean and readable design. They are also in a good quality. The combo colors start at the red we've been seeing everywhere and end at the gold flower design that is visible in the left side of the HP bar. Speaking of that, it's decent enough. Sticks with the theme of the skin and there's not really anything to complain about. The hit sounds seem to be the ones from aesthetic. They are very clicky and distinctive, and there's nothing wrong with that. The miss sound is a very brief noise from Yamashiro. Keyword there is brief. I don't know why, but a lot of anime skinners like to have loud miss sounds that are way too long. However, this miss sound has about 94 milliseconds of silence at the start. That should be trimmed down, and it would make the miss sound feel more responsive. The pass and fail icons are fine. They show off a picture of Yamashiro and play a short voice clip. Again, it's brief, and that's a good thing. The pause and fail screens are more like overlays instead of screens. They look and work nicely. There is no distinct fail sound on the fail screen, just an angry Yamashiro, and it looks like the mask on the side of her head is Sans. The spinner is minimalistic, but still provides feedback. The spinner meter is some more art of Yamashiro. One thing I'm not a huge fan of is the key input overlay. More specifically, its color. The shade of red that we've been seeing on the last two screens is used on the health bar, but only on the key input overlay to highlight key presses. This inconsistency could be fixed by using the normal red for the key input overlay and the lighter red to highlight key presses. The follow points are also a bit janky to me, they kinda just pop in and out of existence. Some more transitions for them would have been nice. The non-weave version replaces the spinner meter with a cool alternative. It replaces the pass and fail icons and sounds, and it removes Yamashiro from the pause and fail screens. Lastly, it replaces a miss sound with a loud click sound.
Going into the Mania section, we can see the skin opts for a bar skin. Something that strikes me immediately is that the hit lighting, despite being very apparent, is actually not distracting from the gameplay despite covering more than half of the screen. This is mainly because it uses a very subtle shade of red. The middle two columns use a slightly lighter red, presumably to aid in reading. However, I feel it's a bit too subtle to be really useful. The long notes are very simple, as most bar skins tend to be, with minor highlights over both ends. And any type of tricky long note patterns are very easy to read. The judgments are very nice. They use the familiar color scheme from Step Mania, but opt for numbers much like the default skin. I think these judgments complements the visuals very well, despite slightly breaking the red theme of the skin. The actual receptors take quite a bit of space, meaning that the area to hit your notes are a lot higher than normal. It took some time to get used to, however it's perfectly fine gameplay wise, and visually the Mania stage is very simple, clean but elegant. The skin also happens to be compatible with 5 key, 6 key, and 7 key, and there aren't really any major differences between them, besides 5 key and 7 key having a middle column colored yellow, with a small mark on the receptor.
The song selection screen gets a 5. There is really nothing to complain about on this screen. Everything looks great and clearly the skinner knows what he is doing. The ranking screen gets a 5. Again, not really anything to complain about, and the seamlessness of the top section with the rest of the screen is really cool. Gameplay gets a 4. The skinner did an excellent job here too, but the 94 milliseconds of silence at the start of the miss sound, the inconsistency in the key input overlay, and the jankiness of the follow points prevent the skin from getting a higher rating in this regard. Despite those issues, I can still see many great players making their top plays with this skin. With all things said and done, Yamashiro gets a 4.5 out of 5. It's easily the best weeb skin I've reviewed. The skinner based the skin around Yamashiro's design and aesthetic instead of just shoving her into whatever element he could. Not only does this make the skin look much better on its own, but it allows the character art of Yamashiro and the design of the skin to complement each other. A lot of weeb skins tend to just have the girls thrown in, which was my biggest problem with Ohara Rine's ranking screen. Matsu Ito's own proficiency in making skins has only served to make IJN Yamashiro even better. Visuals get a 5 and playability gets a 4.5. And that's it for this week's review. Hopefully this will dispel the idea that I just automatically hate every skin that is centered around anime girls. It's just that a lot of those skins tend to be shit. Good weeb skins do exist, but they are rare. Anyway, let me know what you thought of the review, and I'll see you next week.
Hey Incomp, would you smash Yamashiro?
Absolutely.